crap in your system.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Mazz.
They did nothing this offseason.
Brought to you by Bigelow Tea, Corona, Gravely Zero Turn Lawnmowers, Jackson Lumber, Team Impact, Blue Moon Belgian White, and FindMassMoney.gov on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
A lot of Astro fans in town.
A lot of them. More than I expected, quite frankly. Red Sox down to their last strike today. 2 down, bases clean, and a 2-2 to Connor Wong. And in there for strike 3. Kind of appropriate. That's the way this one ends. Red Sox struck out a lot this weekend, gave up a lot of home runs. Houston wins this one in a walk. They sweep the series 10-2 the final.
Yeah, tough sweep this time of year. Now 3 games back of that playoff spot. Really going to have to figure out what to do with this rotation. Obviously, the home run's been an issue, but now with Paxton being hurt, who's going to fill that role with the lack of depth they have in the rotation? So some decisions to be made, and hopefully some better baseball around the corner.
Well, that was the epitaph on this weekend series between the Red Sox and the Houston Astros. Lots to talk about from these 3 games with Houston. Red Sox in the series gave up 23 runs. They lost 8-4, 5-4, 10-2. The first 2 games weren't as bad as the scores would suggest. Certainly the first one, the 8-4 loss. Red Sox actually led in that game 3-1 entering the 7th inning. I think it was before it fell apart. Gave up 4 home runs in the game on Saturday. Got their brains beat in yesterday, 10-2. And it's hard to not come to one phrase over and over and over again if you were watching that series over the weekend. The illusion of contention. Okay, that's the phrase that Dan Shaughnessy in the Globe uses over and over again, the illusion of contention. And what it gets to, in short, is this simple thing. And let me pause here just to tell you, we'll open up the phone lines right away, 617-779-0985, because there is a lot to get to from this season or weekend series with the Houston Astros at Fenway Park as it pertains to the Red Sox season. If you are watching, if you are invested, if you care. The illusion of contention. Real teams, real contenders versus fake contenders. And which one the Red Sox are. So I've said this to you over and over again. When you build an organization and you're building it from the inside out, as the Red Sox are, the most important thing is to identify which prospect, which minor leaguers are the real prospects, which ones are the fake ones. It's the biggest job. As a fan, you have to identify the real contenders from the fake contenders. And this weekend at Fenway Park, boy, tell me the answer wasn't plastered all over the Green Monster or the left field wall at Fenway Park. Because that's where it was, while balls soared over it and into the center field seats and over the bullpens in right field, all of the above. That was an ass-kicking. That was an absolute ass-kicking all the way around. And again, don't misinterpret the close games for being ones in which the outcome was in doubt. Because on Friday night, and I just looked it up, in the 7th inning, after the game had been tied, and actually after the Astros had gone ahead, Alex Cora used 4 pinch hitters in 1 inning. 4. Now, in and of itself, you'd say, well, it's aggressive managing, and it is. It's also an indication that you have in your lineup 4 players that have to be hit for in a key spot late in the game. The Houston Astros in the same game did not pinch hit once. Do you understand the difference? This is the difference between being the Tampa Bay Rays, the little engine that could, a team that plays matchups and analytics and platoons and moves left against right over and over again, whether it be on the mound or in the batter's box. Meanwhile, the Houston Astros fill out the lineup every day, and they begin it with Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez. Okay, those 3 guys, who are the 3 guys who beat you this weekend at Fenway Park. That's the difference. And deep down, whether or not he wants to admit it, because he does have his contract now, And I'm not picking on Alex Cora. I think Alex Cora is a good manager. But in retrospect, I look over the last few years and the way Cora handled the media, how he complained about the roster makeup, all of that stuff. I think he was just painting an illusion that he was dissatisfied with the Red Sox and he wanted to get out of here so he could get his pay raise. I'm really starting to believe that. I think it was a contrived, orchestrated approach by Cora, and a good one because it worked. Because now when he's asked about the makeup of his roster or the meaning of a series with a team like the Astros at Fenway Park, he doesn't even want to engage on the topic. Here's the exchange with Chris Cotillo of Mass Live after yesterday's game.
And then you guys haven't been swept at home, I think, since early April. How would you just define the weekend?
I mean, let's not make it bigger than what it is. We lost 3 games. We played well the first 2. Today they did what they put it on us, and we got to turn the page and be ready for tomorrow.
Let's not make it a bigger deal than what it is, or make it out to be bigger than what it is. Last year, we played some of this sound for you last week. When Cora was asked about these sorts of things, you know what he said? The roster is the roster. The acquisition of Pablo Reyes, I don't think he's an everyday player. He pretty much gave you straight answers, blunt, because he knew that his team wasn't good enough, and he certainly knew that he wasn't being paid enough. And by the way, again, I don't blame him. I don't blame him, I don't think he's wrong. I do think he was underpaid, and I understand all the politics and whatnot, going back to the suspension, everything that happened with it. But Cora now has lost the right to complain about the roster. He signed up for this. He knew what it was. And when I say complain about the roster, I'm not telling you the Red Sox are bad. But the Astros have won 2 World Series in the last 8 seasons. They won in 2017. They won in 2022. They have 2 under their belts. The Red Sox, over the weekend, went up against what I will call 3, I don't want to call them all-stars because I don't think it does justice to what Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, and Yordan Alvarez are. They are 3 centerpiece players. If your guys in AAA, who just got promoted there, meaning Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Kyle Teal, if those guys turn into the 3 guys that Houston has at the top of their lineup, you're going to be loaded. I don't know if they will. Alvarez feels like a freak. The next David Ortiz, as Alex Cora called him over the weekend, basically. I don't know if they're going to get quite that far or quite that good when it comes to the composition or the core of the roster. But if they get to that, those guys get to that stage, you're going to be good for a long time, like the Astros. Right now, though, you're pinch hitting 4 times on Friday night in the same inning because you're playing matchups. And while I'm on the topic, when I'm talking about platoon matchups, remember the Tampa Bay Rays have never won a World Series. And the Tampa Bay Rays, when they had a Cy Young winner on the mound in the World Series, pitching a gem, they took him out in the 6th inning with 73 pitches to play the platoon game. Meanwhile, the Dodgers continued to put their lineup out there, or go with their lineup of Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger. You get the idea. The Astros won the World Series in 6 games. So the Tampa Bay approach can get you somewhere. I don't know if it can get you all the way to the finish line. Just important to remember at a time like this. I want to get to the particulars of this weekend series, but unfortunately yesterday at Fenway Park, there was also an incident in the middle of the game that has resulted in the 2-game suspension of Jarren Duran by the Red Sox. He will not be in the lineup tonight. He spoke with the media before today's game, or tonight's game over at Fenway Park. The first exchange was with Steve Buckley of The Athletic. Jimmy, if we could play that, please.
Before we get started, I just wanted to kind of say that I've had some fans reach out to me and tell me that they're disappointed in me, and I just wanted to let them know that I'm sorry for my actions and that I'm going to work on being better for them.
Have you heard from Major League Baseball or Red Sox since yesterday?
About what?
About what happened yesterday? Did you talk to anybody in baseball?
There's
been
What do you mean? I'm suspended 2 games.
Okay. Is anything beyond that?
No, I just have the 2-game suspension.
Okay, again, I just got the 2-game suspension. So in that exchange, which I found to be awkward and uncomfortable, because there's 2 possibilities here, and I'm not picking on Buckley. I worked with Steve Buckley for a long time. Either Buckley had not heard yet that Durant had been suspended for 2 games, or Buckley was wondering if Durant was also going to be subject to any sensitivity training, any discipline by Major League Baseball. It was completely going over Durant's head. So I think Durant was obviously coached and instructed by the Red Sox as to what to say. They put out a release yesterday from him rather than having him speak. I'm guessing because they wanted to make sure they spoke with him and prepared him before they sent him out to speak. He's been involved in a few matters, for lack of a better word, with the team over the last couple of years, a few years. There was an altercation with fans in Kansas City in which Alex Verdugo had to pull him away from arguing with fans in the outfield a couple of years ago. And then for those of you who don't even know the specifics of yesterday, Durant was in the batter's box in the 6th inning. Jimmy, do we have the actual audio? We do, right? We played it earlier?
No, we're not playing that play-by-play.
Okay. Well, I know it's bleeped out, so I heard it on Twitter. I couldn't remember if we played it on the show and it was bleeped out or if it was where I had heard it somewhere else. So if you listen to it, a fan behind home plate told Durant to grab a tennis racket. And, basically Durant struck out 6 times in the series. The Red Sox struck out 40 times in the 3 games. And Durant responded by telling the fan in the stands to shut the hell up and then called him a gay slur, which you can use your own imagination. You should be able to fill that one out on your own. It's an embarrassing act for the Red Sox. It's obviously reprehensible. And then beyond that, it does sort of, there was another question asked of Durant in the exchange today from Ian Brown about him being a leader on the team and whether or not that was bad leadership. Durant basically said yes, answered the question in a manner that you would say politically is the right way. And I will also tell you that if Jarren Durant is a leader, I don't just worry about the Red Sox on the field, I worry about the Red Sox off the field. So I like the way Jarren Durant plays. He plays hard. He should in no way be a player with any sort of influence or sway in that clubhouse. He's the farthest thing from a leader. And if he is doing anything to establish the culture in there, then the Red Sox really need to examine whether it's worth having Jarren Durant in there when Kyle Teal comes along, when Marcelo Meyer comes along, and when Roman Anthony comes along. Because to me, that doesn't feel like the type of guy that is going to fit. So this is a long way of me saying, again, this is a big picture sort of take to start the show tonight, and then we'll get to the particulars and your calls. But a day like yesterday exposes the Red Sox for being something less than what they should be on the field and something far less than what they should be off it. So I would say that they suddenly have a great deal to prove and live up to. That's just my 2 cents. I'm going to generally stick to the baseball. If you want to go to the Durant conversation, certainly I'll take your calls. But to me, the baseball in and of itself was enough. They got their asses kicked. They gave up 9 home runs in 3 games, 7 of which came on off-speed pitches, completely exposing the pitching philosophy of Andrew Bailey. That's where I want to start. We'll get to that when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
Now one out, and the dangerous Altuve, and a high fly ball. That one driven deep to left field, heading to the monster seats. That ball is gone. Dangerous as ever. Swinging a high drive through the rain. That one heading up, and gone. Diaz smokes it. Here's Alvarez, 302 with 22 home runs. And he'll drive this one deep. That one headed back toward the bullpen, and she's gone. Man, is he ever at home at Fenway Park.
Goodness gracious.
High towering fly right field, racing back Abreu all the way to the track, and see you later. Alvarez at it again. High drive into center field, driving back Rafael. He's going to turn around and watch it. That is way gone. Bregman with a blast.
Yeah, that was a poke right there. 105 off the bat, 423 feet.
Swinging a high fly ball, headed to the wall again, way up there, and way gone by DeCenzo.
Wow, 437 feet.
Yikes. All filled up on Bregman. Swinging a high, deep drive left field. He crushes this one totally out of Fenway Park. There's a shot out toward the triangle. Long run, Rafaela turning around. That ball is gone. Alvarez again. They have busted open, and another high drive left field, very deep, way back, and completely out of Fenway by Pena. And another home run for Houston.
9 of them. 9 home runs. So there are times when you watch the Red Sox, and we have this year on multiple occasions, and said, you know what, they're not as talented as the opponent. They play hard. They fight till the end. And then there are times like the weekend when you look at it, and again, we are now in the middle of August. In my estimation, this is nut-cutting time in Major League Baseball. This is when the real teams elevate and when the bad teams get pushed to the side. And over the weekend, the Red Sox got pushed to the side. So I have said this over and over and over again. Jimmy, the best Red Sox team I've ever seen was in 2004, 20 years ago, and it started right around this time. Halfway through that month, the Red Sox just went on a tear. Over their final 60 games that year, they went 45-15. They went 34-12 over their final 46 regular season games. It all started in the middle of August. This is when it gets real. This is when everybody knows the finish line's within sight and the marathon becomes a little bit more of a sprint. So the games become more serious. The Red Sox gave up 9 home runs over the weekend, averaging 423 feet. That home run that Alex Bregman hit, that hit the back wall in center field over the tarp that was covering the seats on Saturday, that was the average distance of a home run for the Houston Astros in this series. The Red Sox, in 21 games since the All-Star break, have given up, listen closely, this is accurate, 47 home runs in 21 games. 47. They just traded for new relievers because their bullpen was getting worn down. James Paxton hurt his calf in the first inning yesterday. They burned the bullpen 2 days in a row. And the new guys who have come here are getting their asses kicked. And you know why? Because they're all matchup guys. That's what they are. They're all platoon matchup guys who you got to put in the right spot. For the most part, that's what they are. And when you put them up against a real team that doesn't have to platoon and match up, you're going to get the crap kicked out of you. Now, I want to get to the pitching staff and the approach on the pitching staff and the overall philosophy because I think it all ties together, which we'll do in the next segment because Andrew Bailey is also getting exposed, and so is his staff. But I see a number you on the line already. Again, 617-779-0985. The more, the merrier. We'll kick it off tonight with on line 1 with Abner Steve in Fall River. Steve, go ahead.
How are you, buddy?
Good.
All right. So can you take your tongue off the boots of the Houston Astros? They have their one more win than the Red Sox right now through 116 games, Tony. They have the same number of losses, which means Friday night before the game started, they had 3 more losses. I heard you qualify it by lurching back to 2004 to tell me about the Red Sox. That's the only qualifier you gave, that these other teams will all of a sudden, kick it in and whatnot. I don't know if that's...
Hey, Steve, let me stop you for a second and ask you this question. Who's better, the Red Sox or the Astros?
I don't know.
No, I'm asking for an opinion. Who's better, the Red Sox or the Astros?
Right now, I would say they're roughly the same, and I do want to say something about Alex Cora, though.
Okay, go ahead. Talk about Alex.
So that was on my line.
Let me just stop you quickly. There is no way humanly possible you can look at me with a straight face after the weekend and tell me that you think the Astros and the Red Sox are the same. Okay, so you should take your tongue off the boots of Red Sox ownership. Now, what about Alex Cora? Go ahead.
We don't use compete level very much in baseball, but I don't think the compete level of the Red Sox is where a $7 million manager is. They're having like a confidence problem through that series. I'm not blaming him for the pitching, but to come out and lay down like that on Sunday, the offense lays down. I look at the guy that's running the ship. I look at the guy who's letting these stars you ripped off, the top three in the lineup, get in their head. That's what I'm seeing. And I don't think I should be getting that out of this guy, Alex Cora.
Okay, I'm going to let you go because you just said you weren't going to blame him for the pitching and then blamed him for the pitching. And then beyond that, you can rip Cora all you want. They just re-signed him. He's not going anywhere. Okay? So, look, I'm not telling you Cora had a great weekend because they all had a bad weekend. Every single one of them. But I also think that Houston has more talent. And did you watch the pitching staffs? The Red Sox struck out 40 times in 3 games. Houston struck out 21. I mean, twice as frequently, the Red Sox couldn't even make contact. Robert and Newton. Robert, go ahead.
Hey, Tony. A quick question, and then I have a quick comment about Duran, if you'll allow. I think after this weekend, we all kind of realized that even if the Red Sox manage to squeak into the playoffs, they're going to get killed by the Astros or whoever they play. Putting the big three, guys, prospects aside, what would you have to see for the next 6 weeks to say that give you some optimism about next year?
Good question, Robert. I mean, the big thing to me is going to really take place between now and the start of next season because I can't eliminate the offseason. They need front-end pitching, and they need to fill out the middle of the lineup. Those are the two big things. So I watch Houston play, and I look at their pitchers, and even the ones that came in and didn't have great numbers, the stuff is off the charts. And they keep you honest with velocity and then use good off-speed stuff to offset it. So again, the one of the things that to me is critical to point out when the Red Sox are having the kind of year they're having, and I recognize that they will privately, internally, they will tell you they're still building. So they are trying to sell you, and I said this in the first segment, what Dan Shaughnessy has been saying all year long, and really going back a couple of years now, or a few years, the illusion of contention. They make it look like they're in it when they're really not. And I'm all for competing and fighting, and this team, for the most part, has fought. I don't think the compete level over the weekend was the problem, despite what Stephen Fall River said. I don't think that for a minute. I think they don't have the horses to beat a team like Houston, and Alex Cora knows it. But they just signed him, so he's not going to rip the owner and rip the chief baseball officer now. That's gone. They don't have the horses to beat the Astros. And don't give me that they have the same record. They just went head-to-head on August 12th or August 11th, 10th, and 9th. And they got their asses kicked. I don't care what happened in April. Irrelevant. What they are now, head-to-head, Houston annihilated them. Houston has had the best record in baseball since June 1st. Houston is a far superior team. I don't know if that means Houston's going to even get in the playoffs or win the World Series. I have no idea. When they play to their ceiling, the Astros blow them out of the water. And as for the Red Sox pitching philosophy, the more and more I watch it, smoke and mirrors. Talk about the illusion of contention. We'll go over the particulars with the pitching staff because they got humiliated. Humiliated. They've been getting bombarded for weeks. Giving up home runs, passing out home runs like Halloween candy. Who is it? Ryan Beaton on headlines? Ryan's got your headlines. Don't go anywhere when we come back. The particulars on Red Sox pitching. It's an ugly picture. That's next.
Sports Hub headlines.
According to Jeremy Fowler, multiple NFL teams have inquired about trading for Patriots edge rusher Matthew Judon. Sources indicate that the Patriots
Sports Hub.
Now one out, and the dangerous Altuve. And a high fly ball. That one driven deep to left field, heading to the monster seats. That ball is gone. Dangerous as ever.
Yeah, and when a guy throws a pitch 50% of the time, a good hitter like Altuve is going to go up there and sit on it. You saw him take that first pitch fastball, didn't even flinch at it because he's sitting on that sweeper.
Swinging a high fly ball, headed to the wall again, way up there, and way gone. Totally out by DeCenzo.
Wow, 437 feet.
Yikes.
Hanging changeup.
Isaiah busted open, and another high drive left field, very deep, way back, and completely out of Fenway by Pena, and another home run for Houston.
This time on the slider. You see that up in the zone.
Those are 3 of the 7 home runs the Astros hit on off-speed pitches over the weekend. They hit 9 total. 2 of them came on fastballs, the other 7 off-speed pitches. There's a reason why we play that. The Red Sox at the beginning of the year, Andrew Bailey's pitching philosophy was built on the idea that fastballs get hit the farthest. Most of the slugging damage, the run scoring, is done on fastballs, not on breaking balls. So the Red Sox this year have thrown one of the lowest percentages of fastballs in the major leagues. And I haven't checked the numbers recently. Early in the year, they were the lowest. They were throwing fastballs about 40% of the time. I don't know what it is now, but there's one home run in particular that I think really illustrates the point. That was the one by Altuve that was at the beginning of that sequence we just played for you. So you know what? We're going to play it again here because I want you to listen to Will Middlebrooks after Dave O'Brien makes the play-by-play call. Listen to what Will Middlebrooks says about Jose Altuve, who hit a home run, by the way, off of Lucas Sims, who basically throws sliders almost every pitch. Do you remember early in the year, Jimmy, the Red Sox had that guy, he's still in the roster, I think, Isaiah Campbell. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Spin doctor with the glasses.
Right. I think he threw 18 pitches, 17 pitches on opening day. All but one were sliders.
Sounds right.
It was just one slider after the next. I think this is what Lucas Sims basically is. Okay? Maybe not quite as bad. But again, here's the Altuve home run. I want you to listen to what Will Middlebrooks says at the end of it.
Now one out, and the dangerous Altuve, and a high fly ball. That one driven deep to left field, heading to the monster seats. That ball is gone. Dangerous as ever.
Yeah, and when a guy throws a pitch 50% of the time, a good hitter like Altuve is going to go up there and sit on it. You saw him take that first pitch fastball, didn't even flinch at it because he's sitting on that sweeper.
Okay, he's sitting on the sweeper. So this is what good hitters do. And again, this is where the talent becomes a factor. Jose Altuve is right-handed. Lucas Sims, right-handed with a slider. He's going, I don't even know what the numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but I'll look them up. I can guarantee you Lucas Sims is better against right-handed batters than lefties. I'd be willing to bet the numbers are pretty pronounced. And take a peek and see if I'm right. And there's actually good drama here, Jimmy, because there's every chance that I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot. Okay, against right-handed batters, OPS this year, 773. Lefties, 720. So I was wrong. How about that? I was wrong. Now, strikeout numbers appear to be much higher against righties than lefties. But the point is, Altuve knows this guy's going to throw nothing but sliders. So he goes up to the plate, and this is there's something else I heard over the weekend in the broadcast, and I can't remember who said it, but I disagree with it vehemently, was the idea that left-handed hitters, and this relates to Altuve, so just bear with me, left-handed hitters should always be looking away against left-handed pitching and looking to hit the ball to the opposite field. They have a better chance of success. I think that's wrong. It depends on the hitter, and I'll tell you why. I know of lefties who went to the plate and basically sectioned off half the plate. And they said, anything on the outer part of the plate, I'm not going to swing. Because the pitcher's going to get me on that anyway. That's the pitcher's pitch. So if I chase that, I'm probably going to make an out. That's a harder pitch to hit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit and wait for the ball on the inner half of the plate, one that's not breaking away from me or a mistake that hung on the inside part of the plate. Then I'm going to pull it and hit it out of the ballpark. That guy was Mo Vaughn, and he was great at it. You know what Altuve did against Lucas Sims? Exactly that. He said, I'm not going to mess with the pitch on the outside part of the plate. I'm going to look slider. And I cut off Middlebrook's explanation there, but Middlebrooks went on to say that Altuve in the batter's box is waiting to see that slider coming at his hip. If he sees it and it's coming towards his hip, his left hip in front, he knows the ball's going to end up middle in, so he can swing at it. If it starts over the middle, it's going to end up middle away, and he's going to be chasing. So he's sitting slider. It gets hung on the inner part of the plate, and what does he do with it? He tattoos it onto Lansdowne Street. That's simple. That's the difference between a matchup pitcher, which I still think Lucas Sims is, and a hitter who can handle anything. That's an all-star caliber player and a platoon pitcher. That's what that matchup was. And Altuve belted it into the left field seats or over. It's about a 400-foot home run. One of the shorter ones by the Astros over the weekend. Jack in Manchester. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Mazz. Thanks for having me. Couple things here. Completely agree with your point of the lack of star talent on the team. It's clear and obvious. I just wanted to bring up the point on Saturday. We're down 5-4, no outs. Devers hits one off the monster. We don't bunt there. It kind of goes back to your point about the star talent as well, with Josh Hader. I mean, he's another player he's a big name. He's going to get the job done eventually. We don't really have those type of players. So I was just curious your thoughts on not bunting there, considering we follow a lot of the nerd philosophies, and the nerd stats had to have said we should have bunted there. So I was just curious your thoughts.
Okay, thank you for the call. Jimmy, if you could drop them, please, just while I look something up. And believe it or not, the nerd philosophies are against bunting. The nerds don't like to give away outs because outs are precious. So if you want to blame anyone for the fact that the Red Sox did not bunt in the ninth inning after the leadoff double by Devers, then you blame the nerds. Now, should they have bunted? Danny Jansen was at the plate. Then it was Dominic Smith, and then Sogard, right? Although Sogard and Dominic Smith got hit for. So here's the reason I would not have bunted. Because after Devers, again, how many great hitters do you have in the Red Sox lineup where you can give away outs anyway? That's one thing. So Jansen got to hit, and earlier in the game, Jansen had homered. After that, Cora went to pinch hitters. The other thing is if you bunt, and then all of a sudden you bring up a pinch hitter, now Hader's in all probability going to walk him. So I'd like to think you could put the ball in play, have three cracks at either, or at the very least, Jansen popped up, I think it was, I'll double check. Someone struck out in there. I thought Jansen popped up. He did. He popped up to the catcher. Gonzalez struck out to end the game. So they only had one strikeout in the sequence. Ref Slider also made contact but flew out to center field. So no guarantee that you're going to score against a guy like Hader, as you said. But I wasn't necessarily looking for a bunt there. There's a reason why the Red Sox at times have struggled in spots with men in scoring position against, good competition. It's because their hitters aren't good enough when pitchers bear down. It's a hard thing to quantify. But look at Tyler O'Neill. I want you to, if you feel like screwing around with stats, look up Tyler O'Neill with runners in scoring position. Tyler O'Neill hits bad pitching and in bad spots. You put him in a big spot or irrelevant spots. You put him in a big spot against a good pitcher, he's probably going to make an out. Dean in Shrewsbury. Dean, go ahead.
Mazz, I can't disagree with you more on your observations on the Red Sox offense. I think our offense is great. It's been averaging over 6 runs a game since the All-Star break. So I don't look at the pinch hitting as some sign that our offense is weak. I actually look at it as a strength that we have the depth and the versatility in our lineup to always have somebody off the bench who would make a good pinch hitter. And it's a nerd thing anyways. If a team's heavy on the analytics, they're going to have a lot of pinch hitters no matter what the lineup is like.
Exactly. Exactly right, Dean. If they're heavy on the analytics, they're going to have a lot of pinch hitters because they're not going to pay their players. And they don't want superstars. It's exactly right. And then when they get into a key spot, they're going to mix and match, and the other team's always going to have an answer because they have better players. It's exactly what I'm telling you. And so when you say that you couldn't disagree with me more, I understand what you're saying about the numbers. I just draw a distinction between the numbers over the course of 162 that can come out looking good when you are going to have favorable platoon matchups against mediocre and bad competition. You are. Those teams have the same problem you do. They can't match up. The Red Sox have more money. So they're going to be able to platoon the situations and the matchups what they want because Alex Cora is going to have a deeper roster more often than not, which is really why the last 3 years are such a travesty. The Red Sox not only played platoons, they sucked at it. Now they're better at it. So they can beat some of the bad teams. But when Josh Hader's out there and he can get lefties and righties, you can throw all the pinch hitters you want up there. You're not going to win. He's going to beat your ass. And the Astros are going to beat your ass. Whether it's Alvarez or Altuve or Bregman, you can throw all the lefties and righties you want. They have better players. They're going to beat your ass. And that's exactly what they did. Speaking of Yordan Alvarez, we'll get to him when we come back and wrap up the baseball hour.
Here's Alvarez, 302 with 22 home runs. And he'll drive this one deep. That one headed back toward the bullpen, and she's gone. His 23rd home run. 1-0 Houston. Man, is he ever at home at Fenway Park.
Goodness gracious.
High towering fly right field, racing back Abreu all the way to the track, and see you later. Alvarez at it again, 2-run homer. He is just too comfortable at Fenway Park. There's a shot out toward the triangle, long run Raffaello turning around. That ball is gone. Alvarez again. Well, he's played 15 career games in Boston. He's hit 8 home runs with 20 RBIs.
What makes Alvarez such a tough hitter, such a tough hitter?
Just controls the strike zone. Just hits for average. He'll take his walks, and for me, he's up there with Judge, to be honest with you. It's just, you bring a lefty, he hits lefties. It seems like he likes hitting here. That wall kind of like keeps him close. He can shoot it the other way, and then he can do that closest thing to David, probably, in the game. Very, very, very similar to David Ortiz.
Pretty high praise. Not many people you could compare to David Ortiz. Yordan Alvarez is one of them. That's not new. When he first broke into the big leagues, I think people were making that comparison, particularly later in his rookie year. He looked like a young Ortiz. And it's not often that those comparisons hold. With this guy, it does. Jimmy Stewart, have you seen his career numbers at Fenway Park?
They're pretty amazing.
So this says, I don't know if they've added in the series or not, because Dave O'Brien there said 15 games at Fenway. The stat I'm looking at Baseball Reference is 12. So through 12 games at Fenway Park, 488 average. It almost seems like ridiculous reading it. 488. He is 21 of 43. With 12 extra base hits and 7 home runs, his OPS is almost 1,700. Okay? Now, I think Yordan Alvarez is a Hall of Famer. That's probably not a stretch either. Obviously, Cora compared him to David Ortiz. That guy changes the game. Now, look, the Red Sox have a guy from the left side who's something close. Rafael Devers. I think Alvarez is better, has a little bit more plate discipline. Certainly, Devers plays a position, so there's value there. Again, which is important if you're looking for, say, which guy has more value on the contract. Their salaries aren't that different. Devers is paid about $4 million more. Maybe not quite that much, somewhere in that area. In any case, they're comparable hitters. I'd take Alvarez. I just think Alvarez, higher average, better plate discipline. He is a monster at the plate. Monster. And you could argue that one guy makes all the difference in the two teams. You can make that. Again, Devers didn't play yesterday. So, is the game different if Devers plays? Maybe. He played on Saturday. They lost. He played on Friday night. They lost. So Houston or Alvarez ultimately has better support, better pitching staff, all the above. Devers is not the problem with the Red Sox. I would have liked to see him in yesterday's lineup, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, a lot more to get to, including a comment by Tristan Casas last week, or rather a comment by Alex Cora on Tristan Casas that I never got to. We'll include that in tomorrow night's show, as well as fallout or look back at tonight's game with the Texas Rangers. Red Sox desperately in need of a win. Joe Murray has got you for the rest of the night. He's next. Ryan Beaton's got your headlines. We'll catch you tomorrow.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston. We've got the Patriots.